Man, thank you so much, sweetheart. Well, who is excited today? The ladies, oh Lord, here we go. I knew I should have stayed home today. No, I will be gentle, I promise you, okay? We're not here to beat anybody up. We're not here to give anybody a guilt trip or make anybody feel bad for where you've been. The problem is not where we are. The problem is staying where we are. God does not want us to stay where we are. He wants us always to increase, to go beyond into what He has for us. And so that's the purpose of these messages and series, is that we may all become better. And so I don't want any of you guys, especially ladies today, to worry about that, all right? Well, we have now come to the end of our series, okay? The end of our series titled Love That Pleases, our study through the Song of Solomon, or the Song of Songs. And we do hope that it truly has been a blessing to you in some way, shape, or form, no matter what stage of life or of relationship you find yourself in being. But we are going to be ending with the stage of marriage, okay? We're going to be ending our series on marriage for the sake of those who are married, and also for the sake of those who desire one day to be married. And let me just say emphatically, by no means, by no stretch of the imagination, have we been able to give you all that you need in order to be successful and victorious in your relationships and or in your marriage. As it said, you just can't tell it all. Time will not allow us or permit us to give you every single thing that you need, but we hope what we have been able to give you has been sufficient for you to open up your eyes, to get you to see relationships and love in a new perspective and way, to turn you around, to place you on the right track that will begin to lead you to love that pleases. Love that pleases you, love that pleases your spouse or future spouse, because it is the love that pleases God. That has been our hope and prayer throughout this entire series. Well, we've been looking at one of the keys needed to have a successful marriage. Okay, just one. Okay, again, there are many. There are different principles, kingdom, godly principles that are needed, but we've just been looking at one for the past couple of weeks. Okay, if you remember when Jesus says, "I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it," but then He said this, "And I will give you the keys to the kingdom." Right? He said keys. He didn't say key as in singular. He said, "I will give you the keys to the kingdom." Why? Because there are different keys, there are different principles, there are different precepts that if we were to apply them to our lives, we were to get the result that we were looking for. And so this has just been one of many keys. And that's why this is ongoing. Even while we prepare to end this series, you should never end your pursuit of love that pleases. So this has simply been just one of other keys that are needed in order for you to triumph over trouble in your marriage. But it's a big key. It is a big key. It is an important key, and that's why Paul starts off with it. He says, I'm going to give you some advice. I'm going to give you some counsel. I'm going to give you some godly wisdom or principle on how you can triumph over your trouble in marriage. And it is the very first thing that he says in 1 Corinthians 7:3, when he says, "Render unto one another the affection that is due them." Okay? If you don't hear anything else, hear that. Hear me. You are, if you want to triumph over your troubled marriage, then you need to begin to render one to the other the affection that is due to them. Husbands, you are to render to your wife the affection due to her. Wives, you are to render to your husband the affection due to him. And last week we gave you the affections of women. We said 4 of them, right? One of them was security or protection. We said it was intimacy or affection. We said it was leadership or direction. And then the ability to share your heart or communication. These are the 4 basic needs of women.
this is what it is that they need. And I didn't get any complaints from my wife. I didn't get any nasty emails, so I assume I was on point, okay? I assume I hit them all right. Everybody's good. All right, well, today, though, we want to focus on the men. Today, we want to focus on the affections of husbands, the affections of the men, because what men want is fundamentally different from what women want. Fundamentally different, and they're supposed to be different. That's how God set this up. That's how God designed this for men and women both to be different, and therefore the needs or the affections of men and women to be different. That means that the needs of women won't be obvious to me. It won't come naturally to me. Why? Because I'm not a woman. It's not how God made me. And so I would be completely oblivious to the needs of my wife unless it is revealed to me an understanding of what it is that she needs. For example, my wife, she can be on the computer doing work. She can be cooking dinner. She can be cleaning up the kitchen after herself. She can still hear in a small voice, "Mommy, Mommy." And she looked at me like, "Neil, do you hear that?" I'm like, "Hear what? What are you talking about?" "Oh, you need some help?" All you have to do was ask. No, I shouldn't have to ask. You should be able to see I need help. I got all this going on here, but I am oblivious to her need. I'm oblivious to what she needs. I'm oblivious to what it is that is her affection at that moment and at that time. So I have to be made aware of it. But ladies, y'all are the same way, okay? And there's some things about our affections. There are some things about our needs that you too are oblivious to. For example, let's say you got to go out of town. You got to take a trip. You're going to be gone for about 3 days, so obviously you got to get a hotel. You call home, you tell your husband, "We got to go on a trip, take a trip out of town, we're going to be gone for 3 days. We're going to get a hotel." And so immediately what the woman is thinking in her mind is, "Wow, I get a break. I get to get away for a few days. I don't have to cook anything. I don't have to clean anything. I don't have to watch any kids. I can sleep in. I can hang out at the pool. I can simply relax." Oblivious to the fact that her husband, as soon as he hears hotel, he's thinking of all the freaking things he is wanting to do with his wife during these 3 days. Okay? She is oblivious to that. The thought of sex never even crossed her mind. As a matter of fact, she is surprised when he brings it up. Sex? You want to have sex now? What are you talking about? She is oblivious to that. But it is because we are different. We're different on purpose. We're different for a purpose. That's how God has designed us. And so what I have found is the problems that we see in marriage, the problems that come about in marriage is either because of us not knowing that we're different, not understanding that we are different, or not accepting that we're different. Either you don't know that we are different, men and women, husbands and wives, you don't know that. Or you don't understand what that means and what that entails, or you don't accept it. You refuse to accept it, and so throughout your entire marriage, all you do is try to change them. So they can be more like you. Why can't you think like me and act like me and respond like me and deal with things like me? Because I'm not you, that's why. I am not you. I'm not a woman. That's why. I'm a man. God has created me and wired me to be a man. That's why I'm not like you. Same thing with women. Why can't you respond to me and act like me and deal with situations like me? And the wife would say, because I'm not you. I'm not a man like you. I'm a woman, and God has called me and created me and wired me to be the way that I am. So stop trying to change me to be what I am not. So either we don't know that we are different, we don't understand that we are different, or we refuse to accept that we are different. What is the main reason people give for getting a divorce or separated? Oh, we're just too different. We were just so different. I mean, before when we were dating, we were going out, even when we were living together, everything was fine. But once we got married, I realized how different we were. Well, of course you're different. You're supposed to be different. One preacher said if both of y'all were the same, one of you would be obsolete. You don't have two refrigerators in your kitchen, do you? You have one refrigerator. You got one oven. One keeps your food fresh and cold. The other heats it up and cooks it. Both work together, even though they are different, to feed your body. You don't have two washers in your laundry room. You have a washer, you have a dryer. One washes your clothes, one dries your clothes, but they work together, although they are different, to get you clean clothes. God says in the same way, I know you're different. I called you to be different. I created you to be different. And I brought you together because if you were the same, one of you would be obsolete. No, I got to think that this may be one of the draws to homosexuality. Okay? It may be one of the draws to homosexuality because you will have a woman who's attracted to another woman, but the woman who looks like a man. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, if you are attracted to somebody who looks like a man, why don't you just date a man? Oh, because I want a man, but I want somebody like me. I want somebody who feels like me, who thinks like me, who talks like me, who has the same affections as I do. And so I'd rather get with a woman who looks like a man so I can have both. And a man will do the same thing. A man will be attracted to another man who acts like a woman, who is effeminate and acts like a woman. Well, if you wanted somebody who acts like a woman, why don't you date a woman? Oh, because I want somebody like me. I want somebody who has the same affections as I do, so I don't have to worry about all of the differences. I don't have to try to navigate that. I can circumvent what God has established and created because I don't want to go through all that. I want it to be easy for me, and that's why it's a perversion. It is a deviation from original intent. God set this up by design. He did it on purpose, and he did it for a purpose. So why is that then? Why didn't God simply make us the same? I mean, wouldn't not just marriage, but wouldn't life be so much easier if God would have just made us the same? We all have the same likes. We all have the same desires. We all have the same affections. I mean, wouldn't life be so much easier if we all had the same affection? Well, God's goal is not to be easy. That's not his goal. Your ease, your comfort, your convenience. That's not God's goal, okay? So yeah, it may be easy, but it would not accomplish the purpose of God. And I believe the reason why God made us different in our affections, biologically as well as physiologically, is because of this one reason: sacrificial love. Sacrificial love. Listen, if I desired what my wife desired, and she desired what I desired, there would never be opportunity to love sacrificially. And let me tell you something. Love is not love without sacrifice. Love is not love without sacrifice. That's why the Bible says, for God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son. Because love is not love unless there's some sacrifice that goes along with it. That's why Jesus said, no greater love than this: a man who would lay down or give his life for his friend. Because love is not love where there is no sacrifice. Even David, he says, I will not offer unto God that which cost me nothing. If it didn't cost me anything, if there's no sacrifice given, then it's not love. It's not worth anything. And so what God did, he says, I'm going to set this up. I'm going to set this up where men and women are going to be different. Their affections for one another are going to be different so that they may have the opportunity to love one another and love sacrificially by giving to the other, not what you want, but what they want. And It's not going to come natural to you. It's not going to come easy for you. It's going to cost you something to give the other what the other needs. And so in order to prevent the neglecting of the two, you're going to have to give in order to get. So God set it up. You're going to have to give in order to get. You're going to have to give what they want in order to get what you want. Right? You know that old saying they used to say, the way to a woman is through her heart. And the way to a man is through his stomach. Yeah, you got to know a woman came up with that, right? I mean, she missed that. No, you're off about 6 inches, all right? Some of us 9 maybe, but no, that's not about me, okay? It's not about me. No, my wife is like, man, I cannot wait to get out of this book. I cannot wait to get out of this series. No, but the way to a woman is through her heart, but the way to a man is through his treasure. And ladies, where your treasure is, there his heart will be also, okay? Let me let you know that. That is the way to a man. And so in order for the man to get what he wants, he has to give the woman what she wants. He has to be able to touch her heart, to give her the affection that is due to her so that he may be able to get what he wants. And vice versa. Ladies, you want your men to respond, you want your men to open up, you want your men to be affectionate and intimate, then you must be willing to give him what he needs and wants. That is how God set this up. So men, the reason why your wife doesn't respond to you being all touchy-feely and grabby and all that is because that's not what she wants. That's what you want. And ladies, don't be surprised if you don't get the response you're looking for if you send little love notes to your husband and tell him, I love you. Don't be surprised if you don't get the response. Why? Because that's not what he wants. That's what you want. We cannot treat the other like what we want or give the other what we want because they're not us. You cannot put unleaded in a diesel engine and expect it to run. Can't do that. Okay? You want it to run. You want it to function. You want it to be at its best. You need to put the gasoline that the engine requires. Not what you want, not what you need, but what the engine that you're ministering to needs. This is how God has set this up. So ladies, now that we now know what women want, we now know the affections of a woman, the affections that are due to our wives. Now that we know that, I believe you also need to know and understand the mind of a man. Right? You need to know and understand. I got time here. You need to know and understand the mind of a man. I know I said I'd be in and out in 10 minutes and all, but if y'all don't mind, I'd just like to take my time with this, all right? I'm going to take my time. And that's the last sexual innuendo I'm going to give today. I promise y'all that. All right, this one is called the mind of a man, okay? This one is called the mind of the man, rendering the affections that are due to him. Now again, last week we gave the women's top 4 needs, and contrary to popular opinion or popular belief, men do actually have more than one. Okay? I don't know if y'all knew that or not, I don't know if you realize that or not, but men actually have more than one affection that is due to them. And the first here, we're only going to talk about 2 today. The first is found in Ephesians 5:33. Okay? Ephesians 5:33. This is Paul talking to the church at Ephesus. He's talking on marriage. He's talking about the commandment to the husbands, the commandment to the wives. But then at the very end, in verse 33, notice what he says. He says, nevertheless, let each one of you men in particular so love his own wife as himself. Okay? That was the command to men. Nevertheless, let each one of you men, you husbands in particular, so love his own wife as himself. But then watch this. He didn't change it. He says, and let the wife see that she what? Respects her husband. Y'all not going to like me after today. I know that, but that's okay. I'm going to have to give you the truth anyway. The Bible says, let the wife see that she respects her husband. Do you realize that the Bible never commands the wife or the woman to love her husband. The Bible never says that. The Bible never tells the wife or the woman to love her husband. The Bible never tells the husband to respect his wife. Never says that, does it? No. Now, should a husband respect his wife? Absolutely. Should a wife love her husband? Of course. But that's not the command in this context. Why? Because it is addressing what each one needs. It is addressing the affection that each one needs. And women need to be loved, but men need to be respected. Men need to be respected. So contrary to popular opinion, sex is not the biggest need of a man. It is not the biggest need. It is respect. Matter of fact, there are men who will forego sex on account of disrespect. You begin to disrespect men, there will be nothing greater that will shut him off more than disrespect. You want to shut him off, shut him down, turn him away, kick him out, just disrespect him. Doesn't matter what you were willing to give him. If you disrespect him, that is something that it will cause him not to even want the second greatest need that he has. Disrespect. It is the only known antidote to Viagra. Okay? Disrespect will cancel it out. It will cancel it out. So what does respect mean? What does it mean then to respect? Well, to respect means to hold in high regard. To hold in high regard, how you see him, how you treat him, not because of what he does or doesn't do, no, simply because of who he is. Simply because of the position that he has. Simply because of the position that he has been given, God says that is enough to warrant respect. Just like your boss. You go into work every day respecting your boss. Whether you like him or not, you respect him. If you have to go into a courtroom in a court of law, you would respect the judge, whether you like them or not, whether you agree with him or not, you would respect him. Why? Because of the position he has. And God says in the same way, you wives, make sure you are respecting your husband. You are holding them in high regard. That is to respect them. So then disrespect would mean to treat them with contempt. To treat them less than they are. To treat them less than a man. To treat them less than a husband. To treat them less than a father. That's why if you go back and forth with a judge, you say, I hold you in contempt. You have disrespected this court. You have disrespected this judge, and therefore I hold you in contempt because you have tried to treat me less than I am. And sadly and unfortunately, you have marriages all over that this is the case. Women are not respecting their husbands. They are not holding them in high regard, holding them in high esteem. And therefore they are coming against them. They're bringing them down. They're talking about them. And women, y'all know that. Y'all know what cuts us to the heart. And so when we get in those arguments, you begin to talk about, well, you're not a man. And if you were a real man, you know what's going to cut us. You begin to talk about what you should be respecting, thinking that's going to somehow help your situation. Well, how is that working for you so far? Let me ask you that. How is that working for you? You talking about him. You talking about his man. How is that working for you? No, the call to the woman was to help him up, not tear him down. That was the call to the woman. The call to the woman was to help him out, not cuss him out, not chew him out. So if he is not what he should be, if he is not what he needs to be, then your job is to help him. Your job is to help him. And I know you say, well, what does that have to do with me? Why do I need to help him? I'm not God. What am I supposed to do? Well, remember the very first reason why God made woman. Go back. Remember, if you want to know the purpose of something, if you want to know the intent of something, where do you go? Back to the beginning. Back to its origination of it. And so the very first thing that God said why he was making a woman, he says, I will make someone comparable to Adam. He will be a helpmate to him. The very first reason, the very first purpose God gives for making woman was to be a helpmate for her husband. And so in the same way, we too need to see this going on in our marriages and in our homes. Sadly and unfortunately, we see the opposite happening. We don't see love from the husband. We don't see respect from the wife. We see a bunch of disrespect and selfishness that is going on. And of course, disrespect comes by way of speech, by what we say. And women, you need to realize that part of our makeup is our ego. Okay? That is part of our makeup. It's our ego. We like to be liked. We want to be wanted. That is a part of our ego. And so when that is attacked, then we have the tendency to attack back. That's what's going on in Washington right now. Okay? You got a bunch of unchecked egos going after each other where flattery will get you far, but disrespect will be equally met. Why? Because they're men. That's how men have been wired. And so someone who is insecure about their manhood, someone who tries to look for other people to define their manhood, they may react to those things like that. But when you know who you are in Christ, when you know that God is defining you, no matter who talks about you, no matter what they say about you, you know who you are because of what Jesus Christ has said about you. That is the security you have. But all men aren't there. All men don't think that way. They still look for the approval or the acceptance of other people, especially their wives. And so when wives come against that, when wives come against their ego, when wives come against their manhood, when wives begin to tear them down and talk about them and all that, then they shut down. They shut down because you're going against their number one need, which is respect. And that's why Proverbs 15:1, I love this. We don't have it on the screen, but I encourage you to write it down. I encourage you to memorize it. Put it on your mirror in your bathroom. Write Proverbs 15:1 down and meditate on it. And it simply says this: a soft answer turns away wrath. A soft answer turns away wrath. But a harsh word, oh, that'll stir up anger every time. A harsh word will stir up anger every time. Oh, but if you answer in a soft way, if you give him a soft word, if you give him a soft answer, then that will turn away the wrath. So when you see him, when you treat him, when you talk to him, when you talk about him as something less than him, you will keep getting the same version of him. Nothing will ever change. Because that's not how you change him. It's not your job to change him. It's not your job to change him. You are only responsible for you. You're only responsible for doing what God has told you to do. It's not your job to change him. Man, it's not your job to change her. And so by you coming against him in this way and disrespecting him, bringing him down, whether it's in front of him, whether it's behind his back, wherever it is, you are shooting your own self in the foot. Because he will never become the husband that you want him to be, the husband that you need him to be without you helping him by respecting him. Again, just like you respect your boss. You never roll your eyes at your boss, do you? You never suck your teeth at your boss, do you? You never yell at your boss, do you? Why? Because you want it to go well with you then. You go to a court of law, you never roll your head and throw insults at the judge. Why? Because you want it to go well for you in that courtroom. So then why wouldn't you do that with your husband? Don't you want it to go well with you in your marriage? Don't you want it to go well with you in your home and your family? If you wouldn't do that to your boss and to the judge or to a policeman or whoever else you pay respect to, why wouldn't you do the same thing for your husband? So, the very first affection that is due to a man is respect. Make sure you respect your husband. Secondly, the second affection, of course, is no secret. It is no secret to anybody here Ladies, listen up. Men don't want sex. Men need sex. Okay? Men do not want sex. Men need sex. It's not a problem. It's not an issue. It's not a devil or a demon. It's not that I'm addicted. It's not a spiritual stronghold. I don't need help. I don't need praying for. I don't need hands on me. This is how God created us, okay? God has put seed in us. And seed, by definition, has to be released. So you getting upset and irritated and frustrated over a man wanting sex makes just about as much sense as you getting upset at an apple tree for producing apples. You know, the tree, again with the apples, I mean, come on. If that tree could talk, if that tree could talk, that tree said, yes, again with the apples, seed is in me. Seed has to come out of me. I have no choice but to produce seed that's within me. And it is the same way with men. Yet, the top two reasons why couples fight, the top two reasons why couples will get a divorce is because of money and sex. Top two reasons. Because of money and of sex. Because mainly, about 80% of y'all in here, ladies, y'all just don't get it. You just don't understand this need that we have, and you're not supposed to get it. Why? You're not a man. You are not a man, so you're not supposed to understand it. You're not supposed to get it. It's not supposed to make sense to you because you're not a man. And so it would be like us trying to understand childbirth, okay? I don't care how much you describe it, explain it. We could be there in a room with you. We will never, ever understand truly what you go through and experience through childbirth. We won't get it. Why? Because we don't experience it ourselves. And so what you would try and do is you would try and think of something that we do go through that could be comparable to it. And so you say, it would be like you trying to pass a kidney stone, okay? And women say, no, that ain't even close. No, I'm sorry, that's not even close. Try passing a bowling ball. Then we're more on track. But that is about as close as you can get. So men have done the same thing, and the best one that I remember hearing is this. Women, you know, like after you have a baby and you're lactating, okay? You're producing milk. There's no baby around, okay? And you are filling up, okay? And you need to release. You need to have some relief from this pressure that you are feeling there. Now you're getting the idea, okay? Now you're getting the picture of what a man is going through at least about 3 to 5 days, okay? Every 3 to 5 days, this is what a man is going through. This is how God has created us. He's designed us this way. We don't have a problem. We don't have an issue. It is simply how God made it. So, ladies, by you knowing this, by you knowing that this is your husband's need, by you knowing that this is your husband's affection, why would you ever deprive him of that? Why would you ever turn him down when it comes to that? I understand that, no, you have needs too, and you have to make sure that there's some things that are in order and set in place. You don't want to be walked over. You don't want to be taken advantage of. I get that. I understand that. But besides that, if you know this is a legitimate need of your husband, the affection that is due to him, why would you ever deprive him of that? You say, well, I mean, I do so many other things for him, though. I mean, I cook his favorite meals. I clean his house. I watch his kids. I do his taxes. I run errands for him. I clean his clothes. Well, all of that is great and greatly appreciated. But none of those things, and I mean none of those things, take the place of this legitimate need. Ladies, do you realize that you are the only one in the world who can legitimately meet this need for your husband? You're the only one in the world who can do that. Any other need your husband has, he can find somebody else to do. If he's hungry, he can go to a restaurant. He can take his clothes to a cleaner. They'll do his laundry for him. He can hire a maid to clean the house. He can find somebody. He's sick, he can go to a doctor. He can go to a hospital. Any other need a man has, he can find somebody else to fulfill and satisfy. This is the only need where you are the only one who can legitimately satisfy and meet for him. So, men, if they are not getting this need met and fulfilled and satisfied, they will seek to meet it illegitimately. Whatever that means, they will seek to meet it illegitimately. And so they will stop altogether. They will stop initiating sex. They will stop asking. They will stop pursuing because they know initiating turns into negotiating. We got to have the same conversation every time I approach you, every time I bring the subject up. Initiating turns into negotiating, so we'd rather stop, wait, and say, okay, I'll just wait for her to be ready. I'll wait for her to make a move because I don't want to have to keep going through that every single time. And it is by the way women respond. You know, some men feel like they are torturing their wives by having sex with them. Some men feel they are raping their wives because of how they're responding to them simply wanting to have sex with them. This is how men feel. Or it is non-quality sex. Non-quality meaning there is no reciprocation. There is no participation. There is just, okay, here, fine, go. And you're like, man, I have a better time by myself. I mean, my goodness. I mean, that's how it is. So let me give y'all another example, ladies, again, so you can somehow understand the mind of a man. You can somehow get it. Let's say, remember, we said last week, one of y'all's greatest needs is communication, right? You love to communicate. You have to share what's on your heart. You have to get it out and let your loved one, let your husband know, right? Well, let's say something happens to you at work. I mean, and it impacts your life like nothing else, and you can't wait to get home to tell your husband. And so you race home and you say, honey, baby, I got to tell you what happened today at work. And he looks at you like, again? All right, come on. Tell me. And you have to tell your story to him looking at you like that. And you saying, you done? All right, get off. That's it. Imagine that happening every time you came home and wanted to have communication with your husband. Eventually, you would stop initiating it, right? Eventually, you would stop communicating because you say, no, I don't like that. To me, that's not worth it. To me, I'd rather tell my girlfriend about what happened to me at work. I'd rather just hold it in. But I don't want to go through that. And so the mind of a man, they're thinking either it's going to be this dog fight, either I'm going to think I'm torturing my wife, I'm raping my wife, or it's going to be so non-quality sex that I am better off by myself. And I'm better off trying to meet this need or satisfy this need in an illegitimate way as opposed to doing it legitimately as God has intended. Do you know why men turn to pornography, ladies? Do you know why? And it's not only because of our innate in nature of being turned on visually. Of course, that's what all men, that's how God has created us. But the reason why men turn to pornography, other than that innate nature in us to be satisfied or turned on visually, is because it's easy. Okay? It's easy. It's convenient. It's always available. It's accessible to us. They're always there. They're always feel that they're wanted. They're never turned down. Now, I'm not excusing pornography. Pornography is a horrible thing. It is ruining your life. It's ruining your sex life, your future. It's ruining your marriage, and even your future marriage if you're not married yet. By no means am I saying that you are justified in going out and watching pornography because your wife won't give you what you need. By no means am I saying that. But I'm just letting you know the mind of a man. The reason why men turn to pornography is because it's easy, it's convenient, it's without a fight, it's without an effort. They're always wanted. They're never turned down. They are quickly satisfied. They will seek an illegitimate way to meet the need because they're not able to get it in a legitimate way. Even if it's a lie, because it is, fellas. It is a lie. If you ever pick and choose an image on a screen as opposed to the real thing, there's something wrong with you. Or there's something wrong with the situation. One of the two. You pick an image on the screen that's a lie, that's not real. They're not having as much fun as you think they are. No, they're getting paid. They're acting. But you would rather pick a lie than to work and have the effort of getting and being with the real thing. One of the saddest commentaries I heard about this, they have these sex dolls now. Of course, they've always had sex dolls, but now they're more advanced. I don't know if y'all have seen this or not. I mean, they're high tech, they're more lifelike, they're more real. They're coming out now, and this one couple that they were interviewing, the wife says, yeah, my husband has one. He keeps it in another bedroom, and whenever he wants, he goes in there and bees with him. He says, and I think that's great. He gets what he wants, and he leaves me alone. I'm like, my goodness. My goodness. You call that a marriage? You call that a solution to this issue that y'all are having between you? That he goes out and gets a doll so that he will leave you alone? And you say that's the marriage that you're supposed to have? God help us. But that's where we are because we don't understand this issue of giving the affection that is due to them. So, women, you may not have the desire. We don't fault you for that. You're not a man. You're not supposed to have the same desire as we do. You may not have the desire. And men, you may not want it out of duty. Because you can tell that as well. You can tell when it's out of duty. So, somewhere in between desire or lack thereof and duty is demonstration. Demonstration. I don't have the desire for this like my husband does, but I want to demonstrate for him how much I love him. I want to demonstrate to him that I'm willing to give of myself. I'm willing to sacrifice of myself. I'm willing to love sacrificially. I may not want it. I may not have the same desire with him, but I'm not going to just do it out of duty, get it out of the way. No, I'm going to demonstrate how much I truly love him by sacrificing that which I don't want. Going to the mall with my wife is not my favorite thing to do in the world. I don't like doing that, okay? But I love her. And I know that's what she wants. And so I'm willing to do something I don't want, I don't have a desire to do, because I know that she does. And I've been called to love my wife sacrificially. If I wanted to do it, it wouldn't be a sacrifice. But now God has given me an opportunity to love and demonstrate that sacrificially. So in between being fascinated with it and it being an obligation is desperation. Between fascination and obligation is desperation. I am desperate to have a successful marriage. I'm desperate to keep my marriage together. I'm desperate to fail-proof and safe-proof my marriage because of this. So I may not have the fascination for it. I'm not going to just do it out of obligation, but out of desperation to keep my marriage intact and to keep it successful. Again, it's why Paul said, do not deprive one another of their affection, lest Satan tempt you for your lack of self-control. Because Satan will find someone who will treat your man like a man. He will find somebody for that. He will find somebody who will want him, who will desire him, who will respect him, who will give him what he needs. He will find somebody for that. And while it doesn't excuse it, the man is not justified in doing that. He is just as accountable as anybody else. But do you really want to have to go through all of that? Simply because you were not willing to do what the Bible says, to render the affection that is due to him. Now, I'm not talking about just doing anything and everything because he has so filled his mind with so much pornography that he is wanting you to perform and wanting you to do these outlandish things. I'm not talking about that. Just like I wouldn't go out and rob a bank in order to give my wife security. I'm not going to do that. I'm not saying you just do anything and everything just because that's what he wants. No. But when it's legitimate, when it's a legitimate need, when it's a legitimate affection, let us not deny or deprive each other of what they want. If I can give the affection that is due them, and have them give me the affection that is due me, that will lead to triumphing over trouble and to a successful marriage. But this is the last question, and we'll be done, because I know this question is on your mind. You say, Pastor, from last week even up to this week, I believe the Holy Spirit has convicted me on some things. I want to change some things about my life, about my marriage, how I respond to my spouse and my mate. But this is the question I have for you. Let's say I give them the affection that is due to them. We all know the question now, right? But it's not reciprocated. It's not returned. They, in turn, do not give me the affection that is due me. Now, I'm a doormat. Now, I'm being taken advantage of. Now, I'm just giving, but I'm not receiving myself. Well, this is where communication comes in, because I don't care if you're a man or a woman, communication is key. You have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to talk. And it's different from somebody knowing or not knowing your affection and then not caring about what they know about your affection. That's two different things. If you've communicated with your spouse and you've let them know your legitimate needs and how they can feel and satisfy your legitimate need, and they just don't care to do that, that's a whole other issue altogether. That is something now we need to sit down, talk, have some counseling, and get to the root, get to the bottom of this. But if you're in a relationship and married to somebody who loves you and you love them, when you communicate these things, you make them aware of these things, now they should be willing to do these things. But even if they're not, if you are willing to give the affection that is due to them, and they still are not willing to give the affection due to you, I would say this: don't let their disobedience stop your obedience. Okay? You keep doing what God told you to do. God didn't say render the affections to them if they render the affections to you. That's not what he said. He said render the affection to them. So you continue to be obedient to Christ. You pray for him. You pray for her. You continue to do all that they need, and just pray and believe that the day is going to come where God is going to capture their heart as well, and they in turn are going to be willing to reciprocate what you are giving yourself. You know, we've all had service. You know, say you go to a restaurant and you have the waiter come to your table and all. We've had bad service, we've had good service, and we've had great service, excellent service. Bad service we know is this: when the waiter never comes to your table, right? The waiter never checks on you, never sees what you want. So you finished your tea about 10 minutes ago. You're there shaking the ice in the glass. You know, where you at? Where you at? That's bad service. You're thirsty, your mouth is dry, and there's nobody around to give you more of what you need. That is bad service. Good service, however, is somebody who at least will come to your table to see what you want. And they will fulfill your request. So you say, hey, can we have some more bread? Sure, let me bring that out for you. Hey, can I have another refill? Yes, let me do that for you. That's good service. Because at least they're coming, checking on you, seeing how you're doing, and they're willing to give you what it is you need. But you know what great service is? Great service is when they wait on you without you even having to ask. Oh, I saw you were about finished with your tea, so I went ahead and brought you another. There you go. Oh, I saw that your bread was running low, so I went ahead and gave you some more bread. I know you didn't ask for this sauce, but I went ahead and brought it out anyway, just so you can taste it and see if something you like. Oh, you asked for 3 or 4 refills right now, so I went ahead and gave you one in a to-go cup before you left. I didn't ask for that. No, you didn't. That's great service. That is great service. And that is the kind of service that should be going on in every Christian home, in every Christian marriage. You ought to be trying to outserve one another. You don't have to sit there and be oblivious to their needs and not even wait for them to ask what they need. But you are to be so into your wife, so into your husband. You know what they need. You know what they desire. You know what their affections are. You are willing even to minister it to them even without them asking for it. That is great service. And it is a great marriage. It is one that will stand the test of time and take you through any trouble that you face in this life. So my challenge, we're done now. My challenge to you, and God's challenge to all of us here today, is that we learn to do it God's way. Just learn to do it God's way. Don't do it the world's way. Don't do it like mom and dad did it. Don't do it like your friends are doing it, how you see it on TV and the Kardashians. No, do it God's way. Because God's way is the only way that has his backing, that has his support, that gets the results that you are after. So we're going to close. We're going to ask the prayer team to come up as the band comes forward.